Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Inner Compass podcast. Here with a good friend of mine, Scott Kidd. We are doing episode number 15. Like, I can't believe from the first conversation to just the idea of doing this. So now we're here on episode number 15. And today we're going to talk about cleaning the lens, like cleaning up the clutter, cleaning off the dust. Before this episode, we were geeking out about some different business venture stuff. And I thought, man, my camera looks pretty grainy. And I reached up and grabbed my camera and I cleaned it off. And I apologize if we've recorded a couple episodes and it was like kind of grainy, didn't look that good. It was because my camera had dust on it. And it's not because of lack of use. It's because I didn't clean it. So Scott, man, welcome to the show again. Man, another episode here to be here together. I'm excited about recording this episode, but we just did some cleanup in our lives too. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that. What day was that?
Yeah. Thanks again. Episode 15, I can't believe it either. From origin to now, it seems like it's gone by really quick, and we're just getting started. So
That's right.
it's just going to keep getting better and better. But we did, I believe it was day 24 of our 30-day mindset challenge with the Inner Compass podcast here.
Let me
Is it
look.
day 24? But it was about cleaning house, right? Cleaning.
Day 23.
Day 23.
Spend 15 minutes organizing one physical space.
One physical space, like cleaning up your desk, cleaning up, around you, your workspace, just even something. It's just something we have to do all the time. Just declutter, because if your space is cluttered, things around you are cluttered, if the people around you are cluttered, you're going to be cluttered. You're not going to have a clear path to everything. And I know this has happened to me many times. I'm on a call or something like that, and I'm speaking to somebody that's very important conversation at that moment, and they're like, well, and you say, well, I have this, it's right here on my desk, and then
Mm.
it
hmm
is, but it isn't. It is, but you can't find it because there's so much stuff on your desk, because you
Yeah.
have all these unfinished projects where it's that you need to like say no to, you should have said no to, but
Yeah.
you didn't, and then you,
Yeah.
you let them stack up. So what you need to do is just kind of take 15 minutes before you start, or at the end of the day, do both, either one. Just take those things out. Well, I'm obviously not going to get to this. It's been a month. It's been a month on this one. All these things need to go away, because if you don't, it'll just keep piling up, and then you'll be overwhelmed with all these things that really are just the busyness. They're not the business of what you need to do.
Well, I know for me, it's kind of funny that exact same week that I ended up doing day 23, the day before I had a group call me up and they needed some banking information. And I knew that I had just ordered checks. Yeah, I still write checks. So I have a checkbook for a business account. So I had my checkbook on my desk. I was almost positive it was on my desk. Well, I guess I had at some point reconciled some of the mess and I put the checkbook in the file cabinet. So, they were patiently waiting on the phone to get the numbers that was needed
Wow.
to get done what was needed. And yeah, I had to go look for that. So the Zoom is on, it's playing, and I'm out, fumbling through my office trying to find my checkbook so I can find these numbers they need. And just like that, it's so easy to get things just so cluttered up in life that we just can't, one, think clearly, and two, we're not efficient with our time. And it's really sad because I know for what you do, you have to be very efficient. You have to be
Yeah.
very clean in your operations. I know for what I do, slow is fast and smooth, is really what makes it really all come together by being organized. I think for me personally, at day 23, I spent honestly 25 minutes. I needed to
Hmm.
spend a little more than 15. And I just decluttered everything. I just kind of organized everything. I got my space clean, organized. I know where everything is. I got my important stack. I got my next to do stack. And that helped me so much kind of reconcile.
Hmm.
And I wonder, me personally, I'm sure there's a lot of things in life, not just on our desk, that we could probably better organize.
Yeah, I think there definitely is, especially like in our personal lives and our business lives. There's a lot of relationships that we need to probably move away from. Probably every once in a while, take an inventory of what we're doing and just kind of maybe take an assessment of like, is this like you're saying, most important, next important, and maybe not so important, or maybe, hey, this is not beneficial for them or me. So maybe we need to kind of think about maybe spend less time with these particular people and then go up the line and just say, okay, well, what's the one thing or the one person I need to talk to today that's going to push everything forward, or like the relationship with my wife or what have you? What's going to make that even better today if we go and do this? No, let's maybe go out to dinner tonight. Well, nah, let's just sit, or not do anything. But in business and stuff, especially, like we all have those calls that we need to make, but then stack number one and two get in the way. We put those in the way to kind of self-sabotage ourselves or procrastinate, because those can be pretty overwhelming, and those aren't really the things that we need to be doing or should be doing, because those things are further down the priority stack. The
Yeah,
priority stack needs to be with those one thing that what we need to always say, is this serving me? And is this going to push the needle forward? Are these things the things that I should be doing? And that should be our focus, because once we get those done, then if we have maybe three things like that every day, we get those three things done first and foremost, the rest of the day is easy.
absolutely. And I just taught this subject the other day. I was on a call with a group of people on my Zoom. It was our Game Changer Live. And no, it was my indestructible wealth call. And I talked about tasks. And I said, honestly, I think some of us need to get down to where we're accomplishing one thing per day. Just one thing. Yes, there's other little tasks that you need to do, but there's probably one thing that you need to get done today.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know it was our indestructible wealth call, and I'll help frame this. So, one of my clients, they're working on buying their first multifamily property. And, they're somewhat new to this game, and they're trying to pretty much build a team and do every facet. So, when you're looking to buy multifamily, you're focused on deal flow, you're focused on your investor list, you're focused on your future partners, you're focused on the people that are your partners that can be property management. Like you're trying to, basically put all these people into one basket. And she's like, I'm focusing on all these little tasks. And I said, maybe what would be best is if what you did was just focus on finding a property management company today. That's the
Mm-hmm.
only task that you find. Now, let's be honest. If you find that person right away, boom, move to the next task. Maybe the next one is somebody that's in construction that can help you on your property. So I know for me personally, I reconcile things down to this. I focus on three tasks a day.
Mm-hmm.
One is the most important thing that I can do that really moves the needle. And then two is usually the thing that is very important, but it comes second to the first. And if I get done with this one and I have time to focus on the next, I get done with that one. And then number three is the task that didn't get done the day before, if that chooses to happen. So I'm not making new tasks. I'm not task stacking. I'm going back in time to make sure that I get what needs done done. And I move that up on priority list, because if the number three task didn't get done for 3 days, well, guess what? That's my number one.
Yeah, that's very important. It's funny because I used to do this a lot in the shipyard, especially when we got hundreds of tasks, to do, and say it's a 2 month long period, and sometimes, a lot of times, we're working every day. So I would always say to myself, I just got to get one thing done today. It's one project, and if you do one project a day over 30 days, 30 tasks,
Yep.
and then
It's
over
like the
2 months, 60 days. So then what it also does is, like, as you get further down the line and you start with the bigger tasks, the task gets smaller and the task list gets exponentially smaller, because you don't just get one thing done, but if you say, I'm just going to get this done, it makes you feel good, even though you might have, not been able to execute on all the rest of the ones you were trying to, but you got that first one done. So it kind of set you up for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And I do agree with your concept that if the hardest thing that you have on that task list, if nothing else has to happen first before that one, tackle the hardest one first
Mm-hmm.
and get that thing out of the way. Like, do that in the morning when that's the hardest thing that you've got to accomplish today. Well, do that when you got the most energy. Maybe you're not a
Mm-hmm.
morning person and the afternoon is your power hour.
Mm-hmm.
So, do that task when it best fits your energy, but do that hardest task first and get it out of the way. I love the concept of the 1% better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about this in miles. So I'm friends with a few runners, marathon runners. They run way more miles per set than I do. However, a lot of them, I run more miles than they do over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as simple as this. I run on average, run, walk, jog, whatever I can do, 1 mile per day.
Mm-hmm.
But 1 mile per day, that's 365 miles per year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of miles.
It is. It's a lot of shoe
But
leather.
yeah, that's a lot of shoe leather, absolutely. So if you think about that, a lot of people think, oh man, I can't run 30 miles. Well, maybe you can't run 30 miles in one setting.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do a mile per day, run, walk, jog, crawl, whatever you got to do, and you do it for 30 days, that's 30 miles.
Yeah, that's quite an accomplishment. And then consistency is the key, because with that list of saying it's maybe hundreds of things, if you do one a day and you start to see at the end of a couple of weeks, like, hey, well, we made a dent in this. And one thing that I learned from a guy that I work for that is still kind of a mentor to me is, he said, if you got on your list there and you did, you know, a certain amount of it, don't write anything like in progress or called or blah, blah, blah. Put a percentage on it. Like,
Mm,
say, hey, this is 20% done, because maybe you made the call and you scheduled the appointment. So it's 20% done. So when they come, they have a couple of days doing it. And then when they're part of the way done, you put 50%, and then they're mostly done 80, 90%. And then when you paid the bill and you're satisfied with the work, that's 100% done. You write completed and it comes off the list, and then,
100%.
because then when you're looking down the list and you've got multiple things going at the same time, if you see something that's been there at 10% for quite some time, and start to go, well, I need to get on this one, or this one's at 30, it's been here for a while, or this one's at 90, why haven't I closed that out? Why haven't I paid them, or why haven't I signed off on it? So it gives you a little more. Whereas if you say in progress, it's just going to be in progress. That doesn't really give you any kind of timeline or any kind of incentive to finish it, because it doesn't attach to anybody. It says in progress, and who's responsible for it. It kind of abstains you from the responsibility. Whereas if it's 30% done, hey, I better what I need to how do I get that other 70% to close it out?
100%. I want to bring us back to kind of cleaning out the dirt, like cleaning the dust off the camera, right? And I think it's beneficial for anybody, including myself. Just as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking about, I'm compiling a mental list of things that are in life right now that I need to take inventory of, that I could declutter,
Mm-hmm.
that I could organize better. And I think about that. And to be honest, as I'm starting to take inventory of this list, it's getting pretty big.
Yeah.
So I would need to take the exact same method and say, oh man, there's that. I haven't followed up with that person for a while. I haven't done that. Just before this podcast, I got to talk to my dad for a little bit. He's going on 87 this year. And, it's so nice to have your parents still around. If you have your parents still around, I'm going to give you some really strong words of advice. Look, at the end of if you're starting from zero and you're meant to live to 80, you have 80 summers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're at 40 years old, you might have 40 summers left. And if you've ever followed Jesse Itzler or anybody like that, you talk about, that time you have, how many times are you going to see your parents? If you only see your parents once, you're only going to see your parents 40 more times, and
Mm-hmm.
their expiration date is sooner than yours.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about that. It shaves some time off. So to get to the point, my dad and I were talking, and he asked me, he goes, "Hey son, how's everything going with the business ventures? How's everything going with these things you're doing?" And I said, "Yeah, man," I said, "they're getting closer every day, but they're still just, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we just haven't got there." He goes, "Oh man, well, as long as you're making an improvement every day."
Mm-hmm.
And I got thinking about that, and on the way back to my office, I thought, who's standing in my way?
Mm-hmm.
What clutter is keeping me from standing? What is keeping me from closing these deals?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized in that moment, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not waiting on anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
The world's waiting on me. The partners are waiting on me. And at that moment, I was like, it's time to declutter. It's time to start making a list of things that I need to start activating on, because I'm the only one slowing this dream down. So I would ask yourself, listeners, I would ask yourself, what has cluttered your mind up enough that you can't see the clear path in
Yeah.
front of you? That maybe the clear path, the roadblock, is you. Very possible that you have so much clutter in your mind, so many things that are disorganized on your desk, disorganized in the mind, that you can't even see that what is keeping you from getting to the other side of your best self. And I would also say, you know, don't think too small, because you just might make it big.
Yeah. Most
So,
definitely.
that's super important. But maybe you're the one standing in your way. And you can't see it because you got all these things that are just fogging up the mind. You can't see through a dirty lens. You
Yeah.
can't see clearly. You got, what's that song say? I can see clearly now because the
Yeah.
rain is
The
gone.
brain small. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so true. And I would say it's just about high 90s, 10 out of 10. A lot of times when I make that reevaluation or try to declutter my life or my desk or anything, the hindrance is me, the bottleneck's me, the the person standing in my way is me, because I have all those things that I put in front of me. And there's usually a reason why. Like, it might be some form of self-sabotage, it might be some form of imposter syndrome. Maybe I don't think I deserve it. Maybe I'm afraid of that success, because we've discussed this before. Like, I found that I was more comfortable with the grind and the issues and struggling through those things. So a lot of times, unknowingly, you put all these things in front of you, clutter up your thing, so you think that you can give yourself an out, because afraid, I know what the struggle is like. I'm used to that. I'm used to solving problems and having problems, but I'm not as accustomed to recognizing my own success. I'm a little more uncomfortable with that. So I need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable with my success, and just get decluttering all those things and getting those things out of the way to where it puts me there. And then I stay in that future me of decluttered, simple life where the path is clear. Because when you're decluttered, the path is clear. And you can only have a clear path if you have a simple way to get there. If you
Yes.
have, because you'll 9 times out of 10, if you're not coming from that future you're going to put these things in front of you, trying to get to that thing. You're going to think you need all those things when you don't. If you get rid of those clutters, the path is clear, because you worked yourself back from there already. So in your mind, you need to already be there, because the first step is, well, that future you, everything would be clear, be decluttered. You'd be already living in that moment.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. That just speaks to me so much because in this current moment of time, there's so many things that I've put in front of me that felt important, you know, but when I really reconcile and I think, these things are not important to get to the destination. These things are just things I got to go around, and the shortest path between two distances is a straight line, as we all
Mm-hmm.
know. So we put all these obstacles in our way. We've got all this clutter in our way that we got this little path going through this desired
Mm-hmm.
life, and we're just zigzagging back and forth. Unless we're doing extra miles, it's not needed. We're wearing out the sneakers for no reason, right? So I would, just like I talked about dragging that baggage, you know, times you got to let go of the boat anchor. You got to let go of what's weighing you down, because we can add all these things onto us and it gets to a point that where it's just hard to drag. And when we're starting to go uphill, because let's be honest, most things we want in life are uphill. So we got to be packing as light as possible. So we only need to take the bare necessities along with us. So let's not drag a bunch of baggage. Let's make sure that we're smooth and streamlined and got exactly what we need to get there. So, I would highly recommend, as Scott said earlier, taking inventory and then doing that list. And
Mm-hmm.
then that progress report on that list is super important because let's be honest, sometimes we have a hard time looking at a task list and thinking, I'm not getting anything done. I would
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend down at the bottom of that task list, you have an overall project percentage as well.
Yeah.
Because as you add another 10%, well, that 10% went to 20 when you add another 10%. And eventually you're going to, and maybe that equates to 5%, but as long as that bottom number is moving, you're progressing through whatever project you're working on in your life, whether that's business, whether that's relationships. And I just got a really good thought that our podcast number 16 should probably be about relationships and the
Yeah.
difference between the credit and the debit section of relationships,
Yes.
because you want to keep a good balance sheet, right?
Yeah.
You definitely want to do that. And I'm not talking money, I'm talking about the credit and debit section of friendships, relationships, and keeping them healthy.
Yeah. And the people in our lives that really make all the difference, and the people that we're working for, fighting for, doing things for, our why and everything else like that. People always say, well, I'm doing this for my family. Well, if you're working 90 hours a week and you're not seeing your family, we discussed this before. What are you really prioritizing? You know,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
and
what your family wants is you to just be
present.
stress free, not working 90 hours a week about to have a stroke. They would
Yeah.
just like to have you at home more,
Yeah.
right? So, or more present when you
Yeah.
are home
Yeah.
and not distracted by all the things that you're still doing.
Yeah. And that comes with, what we're talking about here is, if you declutter all these things, I guarantee you'll probably not be working that 90 hours a week. You'll probably get rid of all those busyness things, or you'll delegate, or you'll also just realize what's important by going, okay, well, if get rid of these 5 things, I've really cut down about half my workload, so I can go home now at 4 o'clock and be there to pick up my daughter or my son, or pick up my wife, and we spend a little bit of time together. Or maybe we don't need to do anything, but we can spend that time how we choose and just be there for one another, just talk or what have you. And those things take time, and like anything else, you add the more time you add into them, the more present you're going to be, and the more valuable that relationship will be, and that they'll become more of a credit for both of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Scott, what are some ways? I really feel that all these conversations are so good, but I also want to make sure that we're giving those. How do I say this? We're giving the advice to the listeners to be able to execute on. Because it's one thing to have wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
but it's another thing to not actually execute or apply that wisdom into daily life.
Yeah.
So, it's like the smartest guy in the world, but he never does anything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be that guy. So, or that gal.
Shoot, hang on 1 second. Yeah. Sorry about that, man.
No worries. You need to go?
No. One of the kids is flying out. He just gave me a quick reminder, give him his passport. If not, he's not getting anywhere.
No, he ain't going nowhere. Awesome. We'll cut this out. No worries. So let's think about some ways, some tips, some pro tips of how to, one, recognize that the lens is dirty. Like for me, I don't know how long this camera's
Yeah,
been dirty,
could have
but
been a bit. Could have been a bit.
it could have been a bit. And the video quality is not near as good. I don't think that's going to hurt our listeners. It's not going to hurt our reviews, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
But how do you realize when the lens is dirty? How do you realize that you're not seeing clearly? What would be some practical ways that you would put into it to say, man, I can see Eddie so much better since he cleaned his camera?
I would say for me, like if I'm starting to feel more stressed when I'm about to do something, there's where you need to sometimes, if it's an overwhelming amount of stress, you need to take a step back and see what you need to declutter and get out of there. Because when you sit down to your desk and there's just a ton of stuff everywhere, and you're stressed out about your desk, you gotta clean your desk. When
Yeah,
you're step into a situation where you're going to have a discussion with potentially some relationship, business or personal, and it's very stressful, maybe you take an assessment of what conversations you need to have first, because the most difficult conversations you need to have, like the most difficult tasks, you need to have them and do them first, because once you get that done, the stress will go away and things will be clear again. And so you just get all those other things out of the way, do that big task, and then focus on just decluttering the rest of it, and just do it in a methodical step. Be consistent. You don't need to do it all at one time, because you will be overwhelmed. It's like you're not going to go to the gym and get in shape in one day. You're not going to get a college degree in one day. We're not AI. We can't learn it all in one day or 1 minute or 1 second, however fast they do it now. But we're not going to become a great runner in one day. We're not going to be a great athlete in one day. That's from years of consistency, and you
absolutely.
got to have the talent, but you have to put in the work. There's, hard work beats talent any day of the week.
Absolutely. A lot of people would say that Michael Jordan was extremely talented.
Yeah.
I think Michael Jordan would probably disagree. Did he had a good work ethic? Yes.
Yeah.
Was he very disciplined? Absolutely. Does that equate to talent? I don't think so. But what Michael Jordan did is he talks about, the relentless practice,
Hmm.
that he did. And did that form into a talent? I think most people in the public eye would say, yeah, he's talented. But what they didn't realize is how much practice over other people he did.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's created equally out of the gate. I mean, some people have superpowers, yes.
Yeah.
Some people are just good at doing certain things, but because they hyper focus on learning that one thing that makes them feel like a superpower in the daily living in the public eye. For me, I'm a visionary, right? And I think about everything as this big vision. And I have to say that along with the lens of my camera, when things are getting foggy, when I can't see a clear path, that does equate to stress. It
Hmm.
does equate to feeling this overwhelming amount of pressure.
Hmm.
It's because I can't see the finish line clearly.
Hmm.
And I have to step back and go, okay, all right, what do I need to see 5 feet in front of me?
Hmm.
What do I need to see 15 feet from that? And sometimes it's just stopping and going, there is so many things
Yeah.
that I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm looking in so many different directions. But as we know, yes, we have peripheral vision. We do. But peripheral vision is not near as clear is looking straight forward
Mm-hmm.
and being focused. I mean, we can see miles in front of us, miles in front of us. But if we're looking abroad, all these different directions, our focal point becomes too big and we see too many other things. And I'm talking about for me, I'm picking on myself here. When I start seeing all these other things, the path does not seem as clear as it once was.
Mm-hmm.
It was clear when I started. I made the whiteboard. I put everything on that whiteboard, everything I needed to do to make that all happen. And somewhere along the lines, I lost focus. And that's when I found the stress starts creeping in,
Mm-hmm.
the depression starts keep creeping in. Because let's be honest, I feel that a lot of depression comes from the lack of movement
Mm-hmm.
and the seeing of that over a period of time. And you start beating yourself up, right? You're like, man, I wanted to get this done for weeks and I haven't got a single thing done.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to get depressed about it because the pressure, right? The pressure, I think, comes from the regret. Now, I'm
Mm-hmm.
no psychologist, but for me personally, I know that more pressure I put on myself because there's things that I'm not doing in my daily life that are putting more pressure on my external life, the things that I'm supposed to be accomplishing. It's putting more pressure on me because I'm sitting here going, Eddie, you didn't get that done today.
Yeah.
Somebody needed you.
Yeah.
And then the next day you're like, I just got to do something, right?
About all this.
Yeah. So that for me, it's that cleaning of the lens before this podcast
Mm-hmm.
was really, really good. And actually, this is not the podcast episode that we were planning on recording.
Yeah.
However, it was necessary because I think that I'll be honest, man, during this podcast, listening to you talk and listening and just hearing my own self, I know exactly what I need to do today. I know
Yeah.
exactly what I needed. I know what is most important. And I got one task. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that one task will save someone's business. That one task will save somebody's family, their livelihood that they've ran for many years. And they look to me. The question was, Eddie, can you save my business? Can you save my family? That's that's a pretty big,
It's a pretty big one. It's a pretty big
yeah,
one.
exactly.
When I would say you're gonna do it, that's gonna happen. I mean, that's most definitely going to happen. And the thing is to your point, when you're looking out at all these things and all that stress overwhelms you, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to trip and fall because you're not seeing what's in front of you, and you will fail because you're looking all the way out at all these things, and you're looking up here and you're not seeing what's right in front of you, and that will cause you to miss that that call, those things. And that's where all that clutter is kind of, to make an analogy, that clutter is all you looking out at all these things. Whereas if you just take that one thing, execute on that one thing, first get rid of all the other stuff that's around you and say, this is the thing. I'm going to help these people in their business today. We're doing this. I guarantee you focus 100% on it. You're going to make a huge headway in that and make it happen. It's no doubt in my mind, and there should be no doubt in your mind because you've gotten rid of all the rest of the noise and all you have is that signal. This is what we're doing. And then that'll
Yep.
tell your brain that this is what we're doing.
Yep. As my partner always says, Eddie, I got too many signals. It's too much noise. I wanna just thought of something. Let's go right along with I got the yacht captain here. So I've also ran some boats over and throughout my time growing up. My dad built boats. I ran a lot of boats throughout my time as well. Biggest one I ever ran was 63 feet. But when we're steaming out of the harbor, I think this is going to be a really good one. When we steam it out of the harbor, if we're looking at everything going on, we're gonna imagine we're steaming out of a harbor. There's a bunch of rocks. There's rocks on both sides. Like we're steaming out of a port that's up in like New England or something like that, or up in Maine, to where there's tons and tons of things going on. There's rocks sticking out of the water. when you're steaming out and you're looking at those rocks and you see how low the tide is, you could instantly start thinking, oh man, how much do we draw?
Mm-hmm.
Well, draw means how much is sticking below the water, right? So you're worried about what's hanging underneath the ship or the boat that could hang up on something. And immediately you could get very stressed out about this
Mm-hmm.
because you're looking at the rocks, you're looking at the row tide, and you're starting to put all these things in your mind that are not important. Because let's be honest, as long as we go through the middle of our channel markers, which is where it's been dredged, it's been proven for years that boats and ships go in and out of that channel all the time. There's no reason to pay attention to low tide, high tide, because those channel markers are all we have to pay attention to. Is that right?
Yeah, for the most part, that's right. As long as we got in there on that same tide, it's should be able to get out of there on the same tide. It shouldn't really matter, and we stay in between. We do that same path, over and over again. We'll be fine. But then there's no sense in looking all around at all the things that could happen. Let's just do what we did before, or do what this is in front of us. This is what we need to do. We need to maintain that same course straight out the channel and do whatever it takes to keep in the channel. Correct for the wind, correct for the tide, correct for the current and everything, and just get it right. Keep it between the sticks.
That's right. Keep it between the sticks. That's a good one, man. That's it. I think a lot of people they think, man, should I be left of the red one or right of the green one?
Yeah,
Port, starboard, all that stuff. And they get to thinking about all these things, just
yeah,
like you just said right there. Just stay between the sticks.
yeah,
Not left, not right. Just stay between the sticks. That's all you're
yeah,
supposed to be doing.
yeah. The red and the green stay right. Red and green stay between.
That's right. That's it, man. That's it. So, again, this has been time just so fun to record these episodes. And I hope the listeners is getting a ton of
Yeah, me too.
a ton of clarity, right? A ton of clarity, a ton of enthusiasm to maybe declutter some things that's going on in their life. Because let's be honest, we're all human. We
Mm-hmm.
all make mistakes. We all have things that we avoid, we procrastinate on. That's human.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the thing that nobody's crazy. Like
Mm-hmm.
you might point your finger at the guy that's spending his last $2 on a lottery ticket. He's just hoping that lottery ticket changes his life.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, man, you could have saved that $2 over your last 30 years and had quite a bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody do the math and put that in the comments below. $2 a year or $2 a day for 30 years, how much is it? So
Yes.
that'll be some good comments in the chat.
Yeah.
So nobody's crazy. Not the guy waiting to check out and not the guy that's buying the lottery ticket. Everybody's got their reason for doing the things they're doing. And he has a clear path. Like he's going to hit that
Mm-hmm.
lottery one of these days, and all the things that he's doing is going to change in his life. And then the guy sitting back, he's like, if you just save that $2,
Mm-hmm.
you'd have a lot more money. Everybody's got their opinions, right?
Yeah,
But at the end
everyone's
of the
got their
day,
opinion.
man, just love each other, love what you do, love your family, be respectful to other people, and just be clear, be
Yeah.
great, and understand that, look, you got to sometimes just stop, clean off the lenses. You got to clean the
Yeah.
camera, right? You got to clean everything off, and you got to go, all right, what am I missing?
Yeah.
I just need to stay between the sticks here. I don't need to pay attention to the tide. I don't need to pay attention to the rocks sitting out of the water. I don't need to pay attention to any of these things. I don't need to know how much the ship draws. I don't need all these details. The details are causing me to stress out.
Mm-hmm.
All I need to do, I know because I've came through here before, or I know that they tell me I have to have faith. I have to have trust. They tell me a ship this big or a boat this big will go through this channel. And I see ships in the harbor that's came in or boats in the harbor that's came in that are a lot bigger than mine. So they must have came through here somehow. So all I got to do is stay between the sticks. And I
Yeah.
just got to pay attention. Like you can't anticipate how strong the current is. You can't
No.
anticipate how strong the winds are at a certain place. The only
Mm-hmm.
thing you can do is be educated and ready
Yeah.
to combat that when it comes at you. When you get pushed too far this way, you're like, well, a little more left rudder, a little more
Yeah.
power.
Yeah. It's definitely, funny story. They brought up the lottery story. I remember my dad told me a story one time about he every week, the lottery was getting high, and he's never been a gambler or anything like that, but he would buy one lottery ticket because we were in the heavy equipment business and trucks, and we had a trash business at one point and stuff. He would buy one lottery ticket and one truck trailer, and then you do that for a long time. And one week he bought something in the truck trailer and sold it, and he made a certain amount of money. And he said, well, maybe this week, instead of buying a lottery ticket, an extra lottery ticket, I should buy two truck trailers because maybe I'll double my money.
That's right.
By that logic, was that correct? But this goes by, you got to keep it between the sticks. You just go by what worked for you before, and you just continue doing it, because that makes it all that much more clear. Forget about all the little stuff of the what ifs and what have you. Just deal with what is in front of you and what you do need to deal with. If the current's pushing you one way while you're going this way, compensate for it. Like Eddie was saying, a little more rudder, a little more power, and just kind of all you can really do is anticipate what you think is ahead and get rid of all the rest, as long as that keeps you on that track, on that one path in between the sticks.
Scott, where can everybody find you, man? I know that you got your website. So what is that website? Where can people find you, follow you, all the above?
My website is where you can find the Inner Compass podcast, the Captain Investor podcast, and all the stuff we're working on is at investwithscottkid.com. You can find out all my social media and everything that, everything about me, and feel free to reach out. I'm glad to help. And, I love doing this podcast and everything. It's been very beneficial to me, and I'm hoping that it's beneficial to others. We'd like to, hear from you guys on what your take is, and we'd love to get some feedback from you guys. So comment and please reach out, and we'll be glad to follow up.
Well, I'm a little bit behind, but go to EddieAustinBEX.com, and I will have the Inner Compass podcast up there where you can find the link as well. Until that day comes, when you're listening to this episode, it'll already be done. But go to Scott, go to my website, go to my YouTube channel. You'll find these episodes. But all I'm asking you to do today is declutter your mind, clean off the lens, see clearly, and be extraordinary. You can find me on all social media platforms, EddieAustinBEX.com. And I hope this episode was maybe not life-changing. I hope it is. But maybe it's a change enough that you'll share this episode with somebody else that really needs to hear it. I know for me personally, I've had people share episodes with me of other people's podcasts that was exactly what I needed to hear at the exact moment that I needed to hear it in my life. And it truly helped me see clearly. And I hope that this episode does that for you. And we'll see you on the next one, episode number 16. And we're going to talk about the balance between the credit section and the debit section of relationships. See you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.